Welcome back to Harriet's Florida Kitchen. I'm Harriet. We're in Florida and we are in my kitchen this morning. Now, the great thing about living in Tampa, Florida is that we have many wonderful things made with guava, and particularly a thing called guava pastelitos. Now, I have made these, I have not ever made them, that is a lie. I have bought them a million times for conferences and for teacher trainings and things like that. And they always go over very well, and people just love you, and you have them with cafe con leche, and they couldn't be more fabulous. So I bought them at bakeries, I bought them at Publix. But I went to Publix the other day, and they didn't, I'm just sort of addicted to them, and I felt like I needed to have some. But they only had the kind that have cream cheese in them, cream cheese and guava, which are, mind you, delicious. But I was in the mood for the kind of purer form, which is just the guava paste. So I thought, well, I can make these, I can do this. So I nipped over to the frozen part, and I got my puff pastry, and I went to the international part. Down, in case you're in Tampa, you just need to go down near the cash register on the end of the international. And I got my guava paste. Now, if you've never used guava paste, it's a lot like quince paste, and you may have never used that either. I think you don't do this with jelly. I think you have to do it with something as sort of thick and heavy as the guava paste. And where's my knife? Here it is. So I'm going to show you in real time how to do this. Well, I got my puff pastry, and I got my guava paste. Show this to you again. And I began to do it. Now, the tricky thing here it's only got 2 ingredients. It could not be easier. But the thing is, because it's kind of gooey, and not gooey, it's sticky, it sticks to your knife. So I had this trick, and that is that I kind of freeze out my knife. I put out the puff pastry. Let's make sure I have this arranged so that you can see it really well. As I say, I'm not going to do a voiceover today. I'm going to make this, just do this super, it's just so easy that I figured I could do it in real time and tell you how I'm doing it. All right, you pull out your puff pastry. There will be two sheets of it. One you put aside. Get your pan ready, by the way. I put parchment, I've lined it with parchment. You don't put any butter or anything like that because Lord knows, puff pastry has plenty on it. Now I let this sit out a little while. I put it in the refrigerator overnight so that it would defrost. And now it's nicely defrosted. I've had it at room temperature for just a little while. It comes in thirds, and you do this, and I put it right on my pan, like this. It has some sheets that come with it, pull those away. And it's ready to go. Now, usually when people are making this, you will see that they roll it out. You don't really need to roll it out for this because you're going to kind of use these, you can see it's kind of in thirds. You're going to use those to show where your, where your pastelitos go. So now we're going to cut it. Now this is the tricky thing. I'm going to move this a little closer to you. And what I do is I cut it oh, by the way, the third sheet you just put aside over here for a few minutes. Nothing to do with that yet. Okay, so I cut it like this. I cut it about 1/8 of an inch. And see, tricky to get off, although with my butter trick, not so tricky. And then I cut it in half, like that, apart. And then I put it on. Oh, so it's too long, you see, to fit into those little thirds. So I usually do, cut about 1/3 off, and lay it on here. Let me see if you can see this properly. I think you can. I lay it on here, and I like to fit about 7 of these on the pan, on the puff pastry, on each of the thirds. So you can see, you just do like that, and I set aside those other ones that I just cut off. You do another one of these. Now time for a little bit more butter because it's so sticky. And so you do this, kind of like that. Don't worry if it looks a little bit like a worm. That one is small enough that I can put it in there. Okay, so I'm going to do all of these on this one and this one and this one. I'm going to do 7, and I'm going to be back in just a minute and show you what to do next. I'm ready to do the last one. As you can see, I've put all of them, including the last little bits that I've cut off of some of them to make them the right length. Now I'm going to bring in the third piece of the puff pastry, which has been standing by. It's gotten kind of soft. and lay that right on top. Uh-oh, I slid away. Okay, there's that. We'll put it like that. Put it on top. And then I make little indentations. No big deal. You don't have to, but I just kind of want to have a guide so I know where to cut. And I have a really sharp knife standing by. And this is about right. Okay. And then I start to cut. Now, oh, these are going to be, wait a minute, these need to be. So I have also a wet paper towel to wipe off any of the stickiness. And then I start to cut. So I cut. I don't necessarily cut all the way across. You do not slide the knife. If you make raggedy edges, the puff pastry can stick together and it won't suck in the air. I guess that's what it's doing. And puff up. So you cut them just across like that. Now, if you have a pizza cutter, that is exactly what I need. And I just haven't bought one yet now that I've learned how to do this fabulous trick. So I put these across here. Now, the next thing that we're going to, here's the thing I also have experimented with. And that is, it seemed to me that it would be a good idea to put, you know how you make, when you make French bread, you put little scores across because it would let the steam escape. But then all these things said, well, you don't want the steam to escape. You want to puff them up. And then others said, oh, you need to definitely need to let the steam. I have no idea whether you let the steam escape or not. All I know is I've put the scores on them and it doesn't seem to make a bit of difference. I've even taken a picture of it just so that I'll know. So I say, okay, I'm going to put the scores here, and let's see if these turn out to be any different. They're no different. It doesn't matter. Okay, the other thing I do is I cut these because I like them bite-sized. Now, here's where you have to use your knife. Here's where you have to use your paper towel again because it gets sticky because you're cutting right through the puff pastry. So you get all these done all the way through, and then you cut these on pretty much on the line where the puff pastry was born. And sometimes I kind of get off the line. I don't know how that can happen, but I do it. Who cares? It's just fine. And you cut through. This is, again, we're doing the half of one all the way through. Cut it like that. One more time. Here comes this. Okay, we cut right through, cut right through, cut right through. Final one. All the way through. And then the thing you have to do is you have to pull them apart. I left them together the first time I did it, and they were delicious, but they were chewy and they didn't really puff up very nicely. So as you pull them apart, and they stick, and that, oh, notice I just sawed it, just exactly what I told you not to do. Okay, so you pull them apart like that, and I won't make you watch me pull all of them apart. I'm going to turn this off for just a minute and be back in just a second. Now that I've got them all separated, you can see they're a bit irregular, but I've put them apart. And then you put on just the teeniest little bit of egg white, which I've separated and got it ready to go. And so you don't put a ton on here because you don't want, apparently, you don't want it to slosh down, and because that too can seal them up and keep them from the air from sucking in so that you can get the puff up that you want. Okay, so we'll do all of these. The next thing we're going to use is turbinado sugar, which is that kind of grainy cane sugar that's pure sugar, not processed. Now, I also experimented the other day. Actually, I forgot to put the egg white and the turbinado on it. And I just covered them with confectioner sugar. Now, they were beautiful, but you know, it just didn't have the same kind of wonderful texture that the turbinado sugar does. So, turbinado sugar is the answer, and that's what we're going to use today. And this is, if you're looking for it in the grocery store, kind of looks like that. Can you see it? Yes, I think you can. Okay. So, I just take a spoonful, spoons, wait a minute, it's a little chunky. If it gets chunky, who cares? It's fine. And you spread it over all of them. Everybody gets a little sugar. And the next thing we're going to do, so not necessarily show you, so I'll tell you now while I'm doing the turbinado sugar, is we are going to put it into, not the oven, but the refrigerator for just about 10 minutes. Because the longer it sits here and gets softer, that is not so great for it. Puff pastry really is happy if it's cold. I find if it's too cold, it doesn't do very well for these. I think that's one of the reasons my first ones kind of didn't rise properly and were too chewy. But if you, once we do this and we chill them and then put them in, and I've got the oven preheating at 400 degrees because we're going to put them in for 15 minutes. But for now, These are going to go straight into the freezer. They kind of, you know, if you put this on this kind of a pan, you can kind of slide it in on top of everything else. It happens to be around Christmas time, so my fridge is really full. But even so, this will do fine just on top of other stuff. Okay, I think this is all covered. Oh, it's going to turn into kind of molasses in the pan, which is just so heavenly. I love it. All right, irregular, irregular, irregular. It's wonderful. It looks great. Okay, into the fridge it goes. Okay, time to put them in the oven. They're nicely preheated. And I made sure I really let it preheat for a long time. That's another thing, is if it's not super hot, pop them in super, super, super fast. If they're not fast enough, if it's not hot enough, they also won't rise. You can see they're kind of finicky. There are only 4 ingredients. You've got the puff pastry, the guava paste, the egg whites, and the sugar. Not a big deal. And yet, it can screw up. They can be too thick. They can be too chewy, just not rise, and not puffy. So we'll see how these do. All right. Okay, almost time to take them out of the oven. They've been in there for 15 minutes at 400 degrees. Take them out. See how they are. Ooh, they're already looking wonderful. That looks great. Look at those. They look beautiful. Now, you know how I usually test them pretty much as soon as they come out of the oven, because I love things super hot. It's just, not super hot. I love them hot and edible. But not these babies. That guava paste is like lava. And it takes about that long to cool down. You'll feel like you're in Pompeii if you eat them too soon. Well, maybe Iceland at the moment. So I'm going to give these about 30 minutes to rest. But you can see they are looking amazing. I think they're just gorgeous. Oh, they turned out so well. And I scored, I can't even tell which ones I scored, because you see, it doesn't matter. Who cares? So they're perfect. They've puffed up nicely. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so I'll be back in a few minutes to test them and tell you wonderful things you can do with them. All right, I think enough time has passed that I could try these out. I'm telling you, they are going to be wonderful. Look how pretty, and I'm having them with a delicious cup of coffee, because they are wonderful in the morning. So crunchy. Wonderful, and they're not too hot. I let them sit at least 20 to 30 minutes. Oh my gosh, they are so delicious. And you see how fluffy, how flaky they are. I love it when they fall apart. You know they've really been done right. Oh, okay. So, sorry while I talk with my mouth full. You can do these. It happens to be near Christmas, so I'm going to put them. I'm sending some to friends. Now, why did I make this video? I saw my friend Mike in the grocery store, our friend Mike, and told him what I was doing. I was baking these. He wanted to know why I had all these puff pastries in my cart. And I told him about it and told him how easy they were to make. Well, he went right home to my friend Laurie, his wife, and told her what was afoot. And she called me immediately and said, well, I want to make those, but I need you to show me how to do it. So will you do an episode on Harriet's Florida Kitchen? Because they are diligent viewers. So how could I resist such a request? And so that's what I'm doing. But I'm also packing some up. You can see my little containers here. I'm packing some up to take to them because she's never had them. So what if she starts to make them and she decides they're disgusting? So I thought I'd better let her test them first before she goes to that. So all that trouble. You can see how much trouble. 4 ingredients. Anyway, so I'm going to pack them in these little containers, and they make the most wonderful Christmas presents. They're wonderful. They're homemade. They're easy. They're fast. You can throw them together at a moment's notice. So, have them for breakfast, have them for Christmas. We're having them Christmas morning, as a matter of fact, in addition to my cinnamon twist, which you can also find in Harriet's Florida Kitchen, and in addition to my grits casserole, which you cannot yet find on Harriet's Florida Kitchen. Anyway, I think it's going to be delicious, and I hope that you will make these too. And if you can't find the guava paste, you can order it online, I am sure. You could also make it with quince. Maybe make it with jelly, but it might be a little too runny. Maybe on the other hand, who cares? It will still be delicious. So, thank you very much for watching Harriet's Florida Kitchen. Once again, bye-bye.